Search and rescue operations continue in the flooded regions, with the Arbaat Dam collapse now exacerbating several humanitarian disasters, given this year's heavy rainy season in a country devastated by 500 days of conflict.
Our humanitarian colleagues fear the number of casualties could be much higher, taking into consideration that many more people are missing or displaced. Some village residents were reportedly forced to escape the mountains for safety, while others were evacuated. Local authorities tell us that 70 villages around the dam have been impacted, 20 of those villages destroyed, while 70 schools have been damaged or destroyed, and thousands of animals are missing. Some 50,000 people are living on the western side of the dam, have had their homes destroyed or damaged, and people urgently need water, food, shelter, and assistance. That is, of course, according to the authorities. The extent of the impact on the eastern banks still needs to be assessed, as road has been cut off. Local rescue teams are attempting to open these roads.
The broader consequences of the dam's collapse are yet to be fully realized in a country suffering one of the world's largest displacement and hunger crises as a result of the ongoing war between the Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. While flooding in West Sudan has also hampered desperately needed food deliveries in that region of the country.
An interagency team led by OCHA has been deployed to the impacted areas. The team is coordinating with partners, and the authorities will support the assessment to further determine the extent of the damage and people's most urgent humanitarian needs. The team will also help to coordinate the response, which is being led by the government. The damage at the dam is expected to have wider consequences, as it is the primary source of fresh water for Port Sudan and will impact water supplies there. Since the onset of the rains in June, floods have wreaked havoc across many parts of Sudan, with the most affected states being in North and West Darfur and the River Nile states. Before the dam collapsed on Sunday, more than 310,000 people have been impacted by flood across the country, where we don't need to remind you there is a conflict going on.
What is the capacity of this?
We pressed the spokesperson further.
You said that in Sudan the government was leading the humanitarian response given the dam burst. What is the capacity of this government to lead any response of this nature, given that it's engaged in this conflict? And what pressure, additional pressure, does that put on the UN and its humanitarian partners that, as we well know, are already very stretched because of this war?
You're exactly right. The situation itself is extremely challenging. The government, as in any country, is responsible and is in the lead. We are supporting them with whatever we can. But as we've mentioned, we are trying to feed millions of people in Sudan. We're trying to deal with a country where, if I'm not mistaken, almost half of the population is displaced, where we're seeing a cholera outbreak, where we have our challenges of getting trucks in. Now, Port Sudan is been the UN hub, so in a sense, it is we can have access to goods coming across the Red Sea. It is a place where we can operate more easily. But what is worrying is that that dam is the source of water for Port Sudan, which is already hosting a huge amount of displaced people. So again, this is one of these situations where we see, disaster piled on top of horror, so to speak. And we need funds, and we are trying to mobilize as much assistance as we can.
The Sudan government earlier this month also declared a cholera outbreak in displacement camps in the states of Kassala, Gedaref and Al Jazeera that has already claimed at least 28 lives, affecting hundreds more, in a war-weary nation now battling crises, both man-made and natural, on all fronts. Sherwin Bryce, SABC News, New York.